At the Pietermaritzburg High Court, a very good morning to you, Mtungwa. What can we expect from the court this morning?
Yes, good morning, Desiree. Yes, indeed, it's a D-Day for the matters pertaining to the AmaZulu Royal family, as you have alluded earlier on, that today we await the judgment on the applications brought by Queen Sibongile, challenging that she demands the half of the late king's estate, as well as her daughters, of which are Princesses Ntombi Duma, as well as Ntando Yenkosi Zulu, who are challenging the validity of the will as well as the signatures on that will. As you know, that when the late king died in March last year, and then the following weeks later on, the regent Queen Mantfombi Dlamini also passed on, leaving the vacuum in the leadership of the AmaZulu Throne. But to take us further from about that is Mbongani Kema, who will take us through about where we are currently, and also he was the one who was reporting on this matter last time around. Mr. Kema, we are bringing in our SABC News reporter, Mr. Bongani Kema. Just take us through about where we are currently, because last time you are reporting extensively on this matter.
Well, as you mentioned in your intro, the deliberations took 2 days in January. These were matters brought by Queen Sibongile Dlamini-Zulu and her daughters. You mentioned them. They basically want the Queen wants to assess her right to 50% of the late king's estate. You also remember that what she wrote on her papers was that she entered into a civil marriage with the late king under customary civil marriage under a community of property. So she says that by the fact that she was married in a civil marriage in community of property, she has a right to 50% of the late king's estate. The other wives, the 4 other wives, can then separate the other 50% between themselves. But she's also saying that her civil marriage to the king actually precluded the king from entering into these 4 other customary marriages. Her daughters also filed an application saying that they are challenging the validity of the will, because they are saying that the signature that was used on this will was forged. It is not the signature belonging to the late king. So we are expecting today to hear the judge pronounce on that, to give his judgments on the 2 matters. But there was also another application that was brought by Prince Misuzulu. He was saying that he wants the court to interdict a coronation that was rumored to be supposed to take place in December. On that matter, remember that the judge said he doesn't understand why he's being expected to decide on a matter that is just a rumor. And also, this matter was being heard in January, and this coronation was supposed to have taken place in December, but he's also expected maybe today to also deliver his judgment on all those matters.
Okay, Mr. Kema, there was also that last-ditch application by Queen Sibongile as well as her princesses, saying that in the founding affidavits, there were matters that were not included that they will have lacked the court to consider. What are those? How will this implicate this matter?
Yes, the Queen actually asked the court to also decide on the validity of the king's 4 customary marriages. You know that the king, after marrying Queen Sibongile, he also went on to marry 4 other wives. So she is saying that on the law, the king should not have married these 4 other wives, because the civil marriage says that he cannot enter into another marriage while their civil marriage is still in existence. Well, she was saying that she wanted the court to decide on that, but the court said no, but you failed to clearly outline this in your founding affidavit. So it's not something that now we can just go into without you having brought us into your confidence, telling us that you want us to also decide on this matter. But there's also another application. They wanted the judge, Jerome Gonya, to recuse himself from the matter. Remember this, that's one the judge actually refused to recuse himself. It's suspended, of course. So those are matters that we saw happening in January. Today, we just hear now the judgment on the matters that all have been deliberated.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kema. That's our SABC news reporter, Mr. Bongan Gema, as we are also seeing the royal family members passing to get to the court so that they can be part of the proceedings, as Mr. Raymond Impel is giving you those visuals to ensure that you are having an up-to-date minute of the proceedings that are likely to take place, as Bongani Gema did mention, or outlining what will be happening today as we await for 3 judgments. What I can also tell you is that as much as we've been waiting for the public to converge outside, but what I can tell you now is that we haven't really seen much or many people outside the precinct of the court. We know that it's also there are police here who are manning the streets and the roads leading up to the Pietermaritzburg High Court precinct. We haven't really seen many people, but we are expecting maidens as well as the Zulu regiments who are likely to also converge here outside this High Court as we anticipate the judgments today to be delivered by the Deputy President Jerome Ngwenya later on today. That's what we can tell you so far here at the Pietermaritzburg High Court, awaiting those 3 judgments relating to the royal family affairs in KwaZulu-Natal.
Vusi, I just want to say to you, you just mentioned it yourself, it's not just another court decision, much anticipated, and also implicates both the Zulu nation and government. You were talking to us last week during the State of the Province address of KwaZulu-Natal that there were a kind of there was disagreement in terms of how to recognize the king who has not yet been installed, but also just in terms of the mood in KwaZulu-Natal, the Zulu nation that takes much pride in the royal family. What's the feeling on the ground?
Yes, that's a hot potato when it comes to the royal affairs. As you remember, as you did mention, that just last week during the KwaZulu-Natal State of the Province address by Sihle Zikalala, he somewhat gave a royal salute to the nominated Prince Misuzulu with so many political parties, especially the EFF as well as the IFP, who were saying that the king Misuzulu should be given a royal salute, but it was not the case. But he just arrived in the middle of Sihle Zikalala's speech, and then he was disturbed just a little bit for about a few minutes, but we then heard Sihle Zikalala giving the royal salute to the Prince Misuzulu. So it's one of the difficult matters of which is very difficult to navigate through, especially by government, because at the moment there has been no one who has been sworn in to take over the reins from the late King Zwelithini Zulu. That's one of the difficult matters, not only by the subjects of the Zulu nation, but also by government, which finds it very difficult, to manage, as we know that it's only 2 people whose names have been thrown in the hat for the succession battle. Those names are Prince Isimagade Zulu or Jackson Zulu, as well as Prince Misuzulu Zwelithini, whose 2 names only they've been thrown in the hat. They are there currently being at the office of the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, who has been also roped in, the President of the country, as well as the former Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Willis Khunu, to adjudicate on the matters so that he can have a fair judgment as to who should really be the successor to the throne of one of the influential Zulu nations in the country. So they have to really, navigate very fairly on that matter, because it's also in the hearts of many people, especially the Zulu people, who are one of the biggest nations in the country, with more than 11 million people speaking isiZulu, mainly in KwaZulu-Natal, as some parts of Gauteng as well as Mpumalanga provinces. So it's one of the biggest judgments that are being weighted here, but I must say that these three applications, we are told, they've got no bearing whatsoever as to who to succeed the late Isilo Esikulu.
Khumalo, thank you so much. Of course, as you said, much awaited, and we'll be watching events there.